What's going on, my love? So I wanted to say hello. I am Amber Nicole Smiley. I am your group creator, your certified life coach. If anybody needs any sessions, you could feel free to DM me. I was specifically going to do this video because Mother's Day is coming up in the US, but at the same time, I wanted to be very clear that these are things that can be done. Get adjusted here a little bit. Anytime, at any place, within the process of you dealing with the loss of a parent. So, I first want to say thank you to all of the people who do chime in on post and do the encouragement and the it will get better and the positivity when it comes to responding to the people who do post in here that are having rough days, rough times with this particular process. I appreciate you all. That is exactly what I wanted to create this group for. The one thing that I experienced, was a feeling of hollowness when I would talk to people about the loss of my mother, especially people who did not or have not gone through it. Because while I had great friends, um, it was still not a warm and fuzzy conversation with the people who didn't really get it. And so I don't know why I didn't create this group sooner, but that is exactly why we're here. We're here to encourage, to trade coping mechanisms, and we are here to heal. So I wanted to give you guys a couple tips on processing through, okay? And not just um, swallowing that this happened to you, okay? So first of all, I want you guys to understand and recognize this did happen. It does suck, and it will suck for a very long time. I know people don't like to necessarily uh, lead with that, but it is the most honest response I like to give people, because my condolences, they're here in spirit, they're watching over you. None of that really made me feel good. I'm speaking for myself, so I would imagine that it probably didn't make a bunch of other people feel good either, okay? When you lose a parent, and if you lose a mother also, the more in-depth pain of that is that you lived inside her body. Now, why you did live inside your dad as well, um, or why the specific people who did, take care of you, maybe your mom or dad, the housing of you, the caring of you can be deeper than just thinking that their physical presence is going to be replaced with this spiritual idea of feeling better and getting over it. So I like to lead with this very sympathetic tone, not the one I'm giving you guys, but a very sympathetic tone of this is going to suck, and it's going to suck for a long time. So for those of you who are a little bit newer, it can hurt a lot. And I want everybody to be fair and gentle with themselves and to understand there is going to be no specific time or moment that it is going to suck less when it's fresh, okay? There is no particular time or moment where you can say, okay, on Tuesday at 3 o'clock, I'm going to feel bad about this, and by Wednesday, I'm going to feel better. The other thing that happens is you have to be I want you to be very understanding that there are certain triggers that can bring up that emotion at any particular point in time. But I more so want you to be aware that you should not limit your reactions when they occur. For instance, if one of the things that happened to me was, it was a couple years after, and I was watching a movie, and the mother in the movie had passed, and she kind of appeared and disappeared next to her daughter, and I lost it. So I got up and went to the bathroom, and I had a moment by myself. But if you are around people, I want to say to you, don't hold that in. Do not hold it in. I give what I like to call a space bag comparison to suppressing this type of emotion or any type of emotion. And it is what a space bag is. Some people know, some people don't. It is these really thick plastic bags that you put something like a sheet or a comforter or a pillow in, and you put a vacuum, you zip it up, you put a vacuum on it, and you suck it down to this really thin compressed thing, okay? Like you vacuum seal it. And if you keep putting it in the closet, keep putting stuff like that in the closet, if they all pop, or one pops, they all pop, the closet is going to explode. So it is not the healthiest thing to decide, I'm just not going to deal with it. I'm just not going to deal with it. I'm just not going to deal with it. It is really important to have those breakdowns whenever you have them. And I feel like there's always this opposite word that happens that people need to take an account to, because we focus on, I don't want to have a breakdown here. I don't want to have a breakdown here. But after you have a breakdown, you really do have a breakthrough. And what it is a little bit less of that pressure, okay? Because tears are healing, okay? Crying is a healing thing, okay? It is. It really, really is. It's a cleansing, healing mechanism that our body has, that is a physical response to letting off anxiety, stress, hurt, and pain, okay? So do it. And for my guys, when you see your favorite athlete lose that championship game, they cry, okay? They cry. When they break something, they cry. They might do one of these, which is my favorite, but they're crying, okay? So it's perfectly okay for you to have an emotional response. I don't recommend suppressing it, okay? The things that people consider weaknesses are actually very strong things for you to do. You are not going to get any stronger unless you're weak first. Even for those of us who lift weights, when your arms feel like noodles the next day, you have weak moments before the strength kicks in, okay? So do not suppress those emotions when they happen. Do not think that there's going to be a specific time that they occur. And do not surround yourself by people who are not empathetic to your emotions, okay? If you are met with someone who is not empathetic to your emotions, it's probably because they don't want to feel it themselves, okay? So don't let somebody make you feel like you can't feel the way that you do. The stop crying to little boys is damaging. The get over it, or are you still crying about that, is damaging. If someone makes you feel like you can't have that emotion around them, I wouldn't recommend being around them. And to my younger generation, I understand that you may be around people who feel like they have the right to force their emotional decisions on you. Stand up for yourself. And I understand that sometimes you may lose that battle as well, but sometimes it's important to kind of emotionally hold a mirror up to other people and let them know that their way of thinking is damaging you. I'm crying because this happened to me, okay? And it's perfectly okay to do. Even if you're in a crowded movie theater, okay? I don't think there's anything wrong with letting off that moment of emotion. When you suppress it, I feel like that is just taking back a couple steps when you could be walking towards healing, okay? So do not surround yourself with people who are not empathetic. Maybe you want to have some people on call to say, if I have a moment, can I call you? And they'll say, yeah, stop whatever I'm doing. I've done it. I've been that person for a lot of people, and that's why I started this group. So be aware that there is no particular amount of time that you're going to get over this. There is no particular amount of things that you can do to make this better. It is a process through. The other thing I want to discuss is your game plan for certain days or certain moments that you know are going to be a trigger. For instance, maybe, you know, you grew up a Jehovah Witness, and holidays are not a big deal, but maybe there's a particular season that is a big trigger for you. Maybe your mom enjoyed a particular season, or your dad enjoyed a particular season, and you're starting to feel that anxiety building up towards that particular season. Or maybe it's a month, because in this month maybe you always went to a festival or you always did something, okay? If you know you are about to approach a specific day or a specific time of the year or week or something where you know it's going to cause you a lot of anxiety. For instance, just I'm going from my point of view, Mother's Day, okay? Even though I am a mom, Mother's Day can hold a lot of emotion for me. So I try to plan out that particular day, and that's perfectly okay. If you decide I just want to stay in bed and I'll wake up the next day. If you decide a month before you want to turn off all the flower notifications, you don't really want to watch TV with commercials, perfectly okay. It's It is your game plan to cope. Some people like to just fully go balls to the wall and all in very swiftly with that, and in a sense honor that particular day or person and say, well, I'm still going to buy my mother flowers on Mother's Day and go to her grave, or I'm going to light a candle, or I'm going to let off a Chinese lantern into the sky, or I'm going to, you know, go to our favorite restaurant. And same thing, you may have a game plan, you might stick to it, but you may have an emotional moment in that day. And I say have it. Because the one thing that I've learned is that people don't think about ever being you, right? They don't think about that's your last Mother's Day with your mother. Or what if this is my last Father's Day with my father? Would I be okay? And it's perfectly okay to have a moment, even if you had a game plan, okay? But I do recommend having a game plan if you know you're going to have a triggering day versus kind of floating through the day and hoping that, you just don't deal with anything or have anything happen, okay? If you have to go to work, because I used to work at a restaurant, Mother's Day was really hard for me. And they don't really give you Mother's Day off because it's the busiest holiday of the year, okay? Mother's Day, then Valentine's Day. So be very aware that you may need a plan within a plan. So when I couldn't go to work, I just let my managers know these tables may be a little fucked up because if I go crying in the back, somebody needs to catch them. So just put people on standby and on notice. And most people are very understanding. Okay, there are some unempathetic people in the world, but for the most part, people are very understanding that that is something that you have to deal with and digest. Okay. Deep breaths. The 4-6-8 method is a very good breathing technique. I use it to go to sleep. I use it to calm myself down. I use it in replacement of my cigars that I started smoking after my mother died to deal with my stress and the peaks of my stress. And so that breathing techniques are all through YouTube. You can look some of them up. Okay. I want you to be very aware of negative coping mechanisms. My best friends did the best that they can do, but you know what they did after we buried my mother? They took me drinking. And alcoholism is something that runs through my family. I am very grateful that it's something that has never attached itself to me personally. But be very careful in what you attach yourself to deal with feelings that you just simply don't want to feel. So this reverts back to me saying, the breakdown is something that you should not suppress because it is a breakthrough. It will take you through the other side of this darkness that some of you may have or are experiencing quicker than suppression, okay? You can throw all the dust bunnies and space bags into the closet, but once it explodes, you're going to have a bigger mess on your hand, okay? So it is really important that you are aware of how you are coping. Okay. Are you drinking more? Are you having more sex? Are you using sex as a coping mechanism and maybe having some very impersonal relationships with a lot of different people? Are you having high risk sex? Sex addiction is an addiction. Are you gambling more? Are you, going off? Are you angry more? Are you more sensitive? Okay. These may be all signs that you're not processing through this in the most healthy ways. Okay. Therapy is one of the best things I ever did. I have yet to find a person who found a good therapist who say different. Okay. If you decide to do some grief therapy, some counseling, I do recommend shopping for a therapist. Okay. Some give free first sessions. Some you can ask, do they give free first sessions or discounted first sessions so you can see if you would like to work with them, and date your therapist. For those of you who are like a lot of us in the U.S., myself included, shitty to no insurance, you can Google cheap therapists near me. Students have to clock clinical hours in a certified doctor's, psychologist, psychiatrist office. So you may find some clinics that or offices that have students working in there for a discounted rate. So I got my therapy to $25 a session. And I committed for 3 months. Every month I said, oh, I spent $100 at Walmart, Amazon. I'm going to commit to my mental health. Okay. Physical activity is great as well. The body tends to take on a lot of your trauma. So sometimes working out, hot yoga, lifting weights, you can find yourself even having an emotional moment while doing that. And it's because certain body parts hold on to trauma. So even when I was a licensed massage therapist, they taught us that you may have a client crying on the table. It's called an emotional release. Don't have any dirty minds. Literally an emotional release from rubbing your back or, getting your arm rubbed or getting your head rubbed and you just start crying. Same thing can happen in yoga classes. So understand that physical activity can be a great coping mechanism as well. Okay. But getting your mind and your body and your emotions retuned to your new normal is what you're going to have to do. And for everybody, it's different. For every single person, it's different. But no matter where you are on your journey, no matter if it's your dad that you lost, or your mom that you lost, or parental S figures, no matter how old you are, this is your new normal. And figuring out how to handle your new normal is really important. The last thing I want to say is, and I say this as a mother, to any and everybody. I say this as a mother and I say this as a parent. And I say this to you if you were needing some type of sign or a word. I would hate to die as a mother and see my child live every day in grief for me or every holiday in grief for me. If I birth you and I pass, I want you to find joy in every single day. I don't want you to not celebrate your birthday, and hell, if you feel like celebrating mine too, do it. I'm not saying drown yourself in liquor and sorrows, but I am also saying do not sit and soak in sadness. Okay? I would hate to find out or see my child do that to themselves as a mother. Okay? I would hate it. Please, please, I would say that most moms are on the same page and most dads are on the same page. Figure out your particular path of healing and get back to enjoying your life. Sometimes that does mean temporarily taking a prescription from a psychologist or psychiatrist. I believe they do the prescriptions, and starting to feel better so you could start to mobilize. One thing I did realize was I was in a haze for 6 years. I had no idea about different resources. Kind of had to push through it myself. But one day I felt better, and I said, if I feel better, that means all that time I was feeling bad. So please actively seek your method of healing, okay? For those of you who may want to get in contact with me with personal sessions, please DM me, or you could email me at comfylifecoaching@gmail.com. I do have a direct phone number. I do video chats, video sessions, or I could do phone sessions. The video chatting is better because if you are in another country, I think that would be the easiest way to get it done. Zoom sessions are I'm willing to do as well. But if you would like to work with me as your life coach in processing through this, I am more than available. If you would like to seek a one-on-one in-person session with a therapist, you can try that as well. Telehealth is another way that you can try to utilize technology to do your sessions. There are plenty of videos on YouTube that you can look up to help you kind of process through. I know some people are very private in their process, okay? But I'm going to say this again, as a mother, and I'm more than sure this would be the same as any father, any parent, period. I would hate to find out that after my death, my child never celebrated, never smiled. Of course you're going to miss me, but I would want you to be enjoying the life that I prepared for you in my womb. Okay? The life that I gave you, the sacrifices as a parent that I made, I would want you to enjoy every day of your life. It would break my heart to find out you were not celebrating your birthday or you had kids and you weren't letting them enjoy you on Mother's Day. Okay? And again, same thing. It's not to say that in the middle of some joyous occasion you can't bust out in tears and have a moment. But I at least want you to get to that joyous occasion, okay? Don't stop living your life because your parents are no longer here. It is going to suck. It is going to suck for a long time. Yes, it is. But understand it's really, really important for you to keep pushing and process through and start to heal and start to have coping mechanisms and to forgive yourself, or not be hard on yourself if you have a breakdown at a moment that might seem inconvenient for other people, but it is when it happened to you. Because I think more people, again, need to start to think, what am I going to do when that happens to me? Maybe I need to be nicer to my mother. Maybe I need to apologize. Maybe I need to recognize while my mother's alive, she was a human being and did the best that she can do under the circumstances that were involved. Same thing with dads. I just talk from my perspective, you know, and maybe I could start to forgive them, you know. And I will say this, sidebar too. Some parents are toxic. They are nothing but other human beings, and just because they had the title of mom and dad, because they had the sperm and the egg, because they adopted you, does not mean there are not toxic parents in the world. So I'm not saying go back and forgive everybody. But I am saying I want you all to come to a peaceful existence with this new normal, which is the loss of a mother or a father. Guys, take care.